Good morning on Tuesday, November 12 in Altoona, Iowa, just outside of Des Moines. If you're curious, it was 0 when I woke up this morning at 6 a.m. and the wind chill was well below 0. This video is a wrap-up of the Bernie Sanders rally I attended last Saturday, November 9. The star attraction was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who I will call AOC. I put up a video of her speech, and if you want to listen to it, you can. I think most of the people in attendance were there to hear AOC, not to hear Bernie. I've titled this video Preaching to the Choir because I would be surprised if any person in attendance at this rally changed their mind about who they are supporting. Bernie's positions are well known. The impracticality of many of them is also well known. And AOC, if anything, is more radical than Bernie is. I don't understand the format of the event. It was in a large concrete warehouse-type building next to the Marriott Hotel. And while there was some seating, it appeared to be for disabled or elderly people. The vast majority of us were required to stand throughout the program. Every other event I've covered has been start to finish roughly an hour. And if you get there early, as many people do, that's maybe 90 minutes total. I think people came early to this event as well, but this event was 2 hours long, not 1 hour long. And we weren't allowed to sit. And after 90 minutes or so, that was really uncomfortable. I saw people much younger than me finally just giving up and sitting on the floor, even though they couldn't see the speaker because they just didn't want to stand any longer. So I wonder what was in the minds of the people who organized the rally. No seating, too many speeches. What was going on? I could not help but contrast Bernie Sanders' event, which had perhaps 2,000 people in attendance, with Elizabeth Warren's event. She beats him on all fronts. Now, her event was in Ames, Iowa. It was in a large, I guess we'll call it a theater, because it would hold about 4,000 people. It had an excellent sound system. There were only brief introductory speeches. She spoke for 38 minutes. And again, I have her stump speech up if you want to hear it. And then she answered questions for 20 minutes, and then she offered a selfie to anyone who wanted one. Overall, start to finish, an hour. Bernie, overall, start to finish, 2 hours. And you get there 30 minutes early. At Warren's event, comfortable seating. At Bernie's event, no seating at all. So I don't really know what his organizers were thinking. There were 4 or 5 introductory speeches. The most significant was from Naomi Klein, an environmental author. I don't know where she lives, but she's apparently a big deal, and she endorsed Bernie. Fine. I've put up images of her books as I'm speaking. I had not heard of them. What was the point of adding AOC to the event? Well, she's a star. It's like inviting a movie star, I guess. You'll get bigger attendance. I know that's why I attended the event, and I only spoke with several other people, but they attended the event to hear AOC also. We know what Bernie's going to say, and while he's a good speaker and heartfelt, and frankly there were parts of his speech that I enjoyed that I had not heard before, I would not have traveled to Iowa City to hear him speak, and if he was speaking in Des Moines, I wouldn't travel to anywhere in Des Moines to hear him speak. I know what he's going to say. I know what his positions are. This Bernie AOC event had a qualitative difference to it. Most of the events I've been to so far, I think it's fair to say that the audience was there to see who these people were. Who is Mayor Pete? How good a speaker, how adept is Elizabeth Warren? Who is Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota? I stand by the prediction or the statement or the poll that says that 90% of Iowa voters are currently undecided. I believe that's accurate. The 10% who are decided probably are Bernie supporters. Maybe a few of them are Biden supporters, but that's it. Bernie and AOC maybe they were seeking converts, but they weren't going to get any from this. This event was sort of like going to see the author Elizabeth Gilbert speak near Seattle Center. Entertaining, enjoyable, educational. Just an evening out. One of the things that's interesting about AOC's 2018 campaign for the House is that she was running against an entrenched Democrat, not a curmudgeonly Republican. And she was successful. She unseated this person. And then she voted against Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker of the House. To me, that evidences discontent among the voters. Obviously, the election of Donald Trump in 2016 evidenced much discontent, much anger, much unhappiness. To me, it's significant that AOC's election in New York City, in Queens, also evidences significant discontent. The theme of AOC's speech was, "It's all possible." In other words, if she could go from being a 29-year-old waitress in a pizza joint to being a sitting member of the House of Representatives at a salary of $170,000 a year, pretty much anything can be done. While that's an inspirational message, appropriately delivered to Bernie Sanders supporters, that's pretty much the end of it. Bernie can articulate his various positions: Medicare for all for $30 trillion or $33 trillion, a federal minimum wage of $15 an hour, climate measures that are far-reaching. And most of us know that he doesn't have a chance in hell of getting any of them passed. Part of what's going on here in Iowa, for me at least, is to try to understand why Donald Trump was elected president in 2016. I've read widely on it. I'll do a separate video about it. I have yet to see a cogent and convincing explanation of what happened in 2016. It is clear to me now, however, that the long protracted primary battles in 2016 between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders should have been paid more attention to. Voters in Michigan, which later went for Trump, gave Bernie Sanders a primary victory over Hillary Clinton. That should have been an indication that things weren't sitting right with Michigan voters. I think what Bernie, it's not his fault that Trump was elected. It's more a matter of his candidacy and all the attention and support it attracted was symptomatic of how unhappy many voters are. Have things changed in 2020? Well, yes, in the sense that some of Bernie's planks have been adopted by others. He has pointed this out quite rightfully. He brought up health care in 2016, and now several important candidates are pushing Medicare for all, including Elizabeth Warren. Is he likely to get the Democratic nomination? No, certainly not. His ideas are too radical. He describes himself as a democratic socialist, and he's too old. You can't get around that. Two other comments, not strictly related to this event. Julian Castro was quoted in the Des Moines paper today as saying that he did not think that Iowa and New Hampshire should be the first primary states. And the reason he said that is that they are more than 90% white. Obviously, he has a point. Unfortunately, or fortunately, either way, Iowa is a swing state. In 1996, it went for Clinton. In 2000, it went for Gore. In 2004, it went for Bush. In 2008 and 2012, it went for Obama. In 2016, it went for Trump. Who will it go for in 2020? Yes, it's more than 90% white, but yes, it reflects the swing state mentality. And to me, that makes it an excellent place to have the first primary, particularly when the candidates have upwards of 4 months to be in contact with Iowa voters. I had to edit out of AOC's speech the comments she made about Iowa voters. She described the state of Iowa as full of friendly and warm people, which has been my experience as well. She said she went door to door, and the contrast between going to door in Iowa and going door to door in New York was vast. In Iowa, people were glad to see her and were involved in what it is she was saying, whereas in New York, well, you can imagine the reaction that she encountered. When I was going door to door for Senator Bennett, about a month ago now, I found the Iowa voters to be friendly and warm also. Now, I had a list of exclusively voters who had attended the Democratic caucuses in 2016. So I was shielded from knocking on the door of Trump supporters or just totally apathetic people. I'm going to assume AOC had that similar list. I mean, this is not a primary election in Iowa, it's a caucus. And the people who count are the people who go to the caucus. And if they went to the caucus 4 years ago or 8 years ago, they're going to go to the caucus in 2020. They're the ones to reach, as opposed to undecided or apathetic voters. Was Bernie in contact with Iowa voters at this event? No, I don't think he was. That doesn't mean he isn't good at being in contact with voters. It's just he had AOC along. She's kind of a superstar among the left wing of the party. I enjoyed hearing her talk. I'm not sure where her career is going to go. Again, I don't think anyone had their mind changed at this event. Secondly, there was an article in the Atlantic Monthly which argued that too much power is being given to primary voters. I don't read the Atlantic normally because I don't read any national press normally except The Economist and The New Yorker. But I did listen to this article, and the point it made was there's a serious problem when a fringe candidate like Donald Trump gets the nomination of a major party because there are so many candidates that the field is so splintered. The core who support him or the core who recognize his celebrity can somehow end up supporting him for president. It argued in favor of more power being given to party bosses of both parties so that they can screen out unqualified candidates. With respect to this Democratic field, it pinpointed Marianne Williamson and Yang as being utterly unqualified to be president. In retrospect, the Republican primaries in 2016 are similar to the Democratic primaries in 2020. That is, there was no clear frontrunner for the nomination in 2016, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry who wanted to be president threw his or her hat in the ring. And somehow, out of that mess, Donald Trump emerged the victor. It's odd, though, because in Iowa, the record of the Republican caucuses is terrible. Whoever wins the Republican caucus is doomed, more or less. Rick Santorum won, Huckabee won. These people soon faded into obscurity. On the other hand, the Democratic winner tends to be the nominee, or is the nominee of the Democratic Party. I disagreed with the main premise of the Atlantic article. It rightly pointed out that what it was advocating was more power to the superdelegates who were stripped of power after 2016. I'm not sure, no one is sure who's going to get the Democratic nomination this year, but it's not going to be a Donald Trump-like figure. And if the Republicans were dumb enough, silly enough, unwise enough to nominate Trump, hopefully it will come back to haunt them. I believe it was the Atlantic article that quoted Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida, from the 2016 primary. Bush said of Trump, he's a chaos candidate and he'll be a chaos president. Truer words have not been spoken by a Republican in some time. Along the lines of discontent, while I'm seeing references by individual mainstream Democrats like Bennett and Klobuchar that are critical of President Obama's administration, I don't think they're sounding that note loud enough and often enough. Bernie and AOC are a reflection of the discontent that there is, even among Democrats, for the Obama-Biden administration. AOC ran against an entrenched Democrat, number 4 in the House hierarchy, and she beat him handily. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this content, please consider subscribing. If you like this video, a thumbs up is welcome. Thanks for watching.